Today we will be covering Google Sheets, the basics of Google Sheets. We will start by creating a new sheet and then adding content to the sheet and customizing it, editing that data, and working with rows, columns, and cells, and then working with multiple sheets as well. We'll add a few formulas and functions, and we'll also reference data from other sheets within our worksheet. We will then learn how to share and edit our spreadsheets with other team members and with people outside of your organization. And at the very end, we will cover creating different versions and copies of your spreadsheet. So the first thing I need to do is sign into my Gmail account. So I'm going to do that just like I did every other time. I'm going to sign into Betty's account here, Betty Buckles. And that will bring me to my Gmail inbox. And now I'm going to launch Google Sheets. So to create a new sheet, there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. I can either go to my launcher, and that's the top right-hand corner, all those little the dots that make a square, and I can go to Sheets, and that will give me the main menu for Sheets. These are all the sheets I've used in the past. I can create a new one, and I can create a sheet from a template. We have Buckles templates, and there's also a general templates that Google provides. So you can find one that maybe suits your needs through here. If you already have a sheet created, you can find that within your Google Drive. And the last way you can also create a brand new Google Sheet is to go to sheets.new, and that will automatically open a new sheet for you, and it will save it for you within your Google Drive. Once you have created your Google Sheet, you want to make sure that you title it. So it will not save your Google Sheet until you title it. So once you do that, until you add information to it. And the best thing to do is always add a title first. And that will help when you are searching for it within your drive. So you want to make sure that you click in there and create your title. And if you see it's now saved to the drive, you can then reorganize this if you want to by just hovering over this little folder. You'll see it says Move. I'm going to click on Move, and it will go to my drive, and I can add a folder and then move it into that folder. Or if I'm part of a shared drive, I can go to my shared drive and add it into there or move it into there. Cool. So those are a few different ways that you can start a new Google Sheet or a spreadsheet. What I'm going to do is open a sheet that I've been working on. So I'm going to go to my Google Drive, and I get there by going to the launcher, clicking Drive, and then this is within my drive. I will see all of my different items down here. This is that title. This is the blank sheet that I just created, but I'm going to go to one called Expenses that I already created. So I'll double click on that, and it will open up. And this is my expenses workbook that I've been working on. I have 3 different departments here, and our goal today is to take the expenses and the employees' information from those 3 different departments and create a new sheet where we total everything up. So within Google Sheet, you'll notice that a lot of the commands are very similar from Google Docs and other shortcuts that are recognizable from things like in the Microsoft world. So if you work with Microsoft Office, you'll see a lot of the shortcuts are very similar. So I'll mention some of the shortcuts today, as well as kind of the long way of going through the menu at the top. So I've been working on these different worksheets here, and down at the bottom, you'll see that they appear as little tabs. And as I tab through them, you'll see the information changes. And I can also color code these if I want to. So I'm going to right click on this, and you'll see I can change the color here. So I'm just going to color code these so it's a little easier to find. That's a nice one. I'll do the same thing for each. So I right click, and I'll go up to change color, and I'll find a new color. And the last one here, right click, go to change color and choose that color. Now, to the left, you'll see this little hamburger menu. And it says all sheets. If I click on that, you'll see all of them and they're all color coded. So this is just a nice way to kind of jump from sheet to sheet. And maybe you have departments and there's a color associated with them. You don't have to color code them, but it's kind of a nice way to start organizing and have a little visual reference as well. So what I need to do is create a brand new sheet within this. So I'm going to click the plus icon here, and you'll see it says add sheet. So I'm going to click that, and it automatically creates this new sheet to the right of all of those. If I click on my all sheets, there it is there, sheet 4. And I'm going to rename this. So I'm double clicked on that and it highlights that. I'm going to rename this to grand totals, and I'll click enter. And there's my title, and I'll also color code this one just because I can. And then there it is, it appears within my list. So what I want to do within this sheet is take the information that I had on all the other sheets and create grand totals for them. So you'll see across the top, I have some employees, my employee names. I'm going to enter their salaries, their monthly salaries. I want to get a running total of the number of employees I have. And these are some expenses that we have within this department. If you notice, my salary and wages line is empty right now because I'm going to get that information from up here. And on this grand totals, I'm going to take that from all 3 departments and create the same information on the last page. So let's start working with that. So the first section I have, and I'll just go back again, my first section is my employees section. And we have some monthly salaries, and I'm going to put a couple of other pieces in there as well. So the first part I have is my employees. And let's say we want the total number of employees. And all I did was click within the cell and start typing. And when you click enter, it will go to the next cell. It will usually drop down. So I went across to the next one, typed my information in here. If I go to the next cell, I can add more information. Let's say the average monthly salary. And then I click tab, and I'm going to add a new one, average yearly salary. So I've got 4 nice columns across the top. That's some good information there. It's a little hard to read these. If you notice, they disappear if I've written into the next column. So I could adjust the column and make it a little bit wider. So if you just hover, it creates those 2 arrows. I can adjust it. So I show that, or instead, what I could do is click within the cell here, and up here in the top right, it says text wrapping. I can actually adjust that and have that text wrapped down. And so now I'm not adjusting the size of the column, because later I'm going to want to keep them the same size. I just drop the text down so it's easier to read. So I can do the same thing for this one. Click inside, click text wrapping, and then wrap. Or what I could have also done was click this button, which is basically copying the format of this one. And then if I click within here, it will copy that format over as well. This is going to be really useful later when we start adding a lot more information. So I'm going to drop down a few lines here and start my expenses. And just to reference that, again, these are our categories here. I have my expenses, and then I'm going to put in all the months, and then at the end, I will total every line, and I will total all of the monthly expenses at the end. So going back to my grand totals page, I'll put in the expenses, and then I'm going to start adding my months. So a really cool thing about Google Sheets is that it's very intuitive. It kind of listens to what you're doing and it will guess what you want to do next. So if I click within this cell, if you see this little box here, I'm going to click and it creates that little cross. I'm going to grab it by holding my mouse down, clicking the button and dragging it across. It will automatically add all of the months of the year for me. It will just keep adding them. It will do the same thing with numbers. So if I had, say, 1 and then 2 here, and then I highlighted both of those, grab that button, drop down, it will start adding those numbers up as well. So it's kind of a nice little shortcut for you, and we're going to use this same shortcut a little later when we start adding formulas. So now we have our expenses and our months. I need one more column for the grand total, and now I need my expenses. So I can go back to this page here and find my expenses. I'm going to highlight all of them. So I click within one cell and then hold the button down and drag down to highlight all of them. And here I'm going to copy them. So I will do a Control C, and you'll recognize that from Microsoft and other Google applications. And I'll find this cell here. And what a really nice thing is, it's going to copy how many cells I copied, or it's going to paste how many cells I copied in the same order. So I will do Control V, and it will paste them all the way down. So here I notice this really isn't working. It's kind of jumping into the January. So this is where I'm going to start adjusting the size of my column. And now it shows up very nicely. If you notice, it also copied all of the formatting. So as I go back here, I had alternating rows of color. It added that. Oh, I forgot the monthly total, so let's grab that one. So I'm just going to click within, copy it. That's Control C. Go back to my grand totals, click in the cell that I want it to appear, and then Control V, paste it right in. Now, we had some formatting here. I made this look like a header row. I did the same thing up here. If I click within, you'll see that it is, the font size is 12, it is bold, and I've changed the fill color. So instead of doing all of that individually, I'm going to use that shortcut that we did before. So I will find that cell. I will click that paint format, go back to my spreadsheet, click within there, and automatically it changes the format. A nice way to do it. Now I notice this one is centered, so these I don't think I centered these. Oh, I did. So we can do the same thing here. I can copy that formatting and paste it within. Now if I drag that across, it will change that as well. So it's kind of a nice shortcut for you, quick mix of quick work. All right, so this is looking good. I have all the information. I have to do that across the top as well. So let's change all of this. And I'm going to change this formatting as well. Just so we walk through it, so you know, I can change the size of the font up here by just clicking inside, and I can choose 12. That's what I know that was. And I made that bold. I changed the text color to white, and I changed the fill color to this kind of dark blue. That looks a little large, so I'm going to just drop that down to 10, so it fits a little bit better. All right, looking pretty good. Now, let's go back over to one of these sheets. So basically, I mentioned before that I have some missing cells here. I also have some missing salaries up here, and I also need to add up the number of employees. So basically, so far, we've just added text to all of our cells. We have formatted that text in a very similar way that we would a Word document or a Google Doc by basically changing the font size, the color. But now what I want to do is start adding more specific information, like the type of information and specifically currency, and then I'm going to start using my formulas to add up the information. So let's put in some monthly salaries. Let's say Betty gets 3,000, and I'm going to just start adding some here. And now we have some salaries within here. These should be formatted as a number, which they are, but they should be currency. So I want it to appear as a ledger. So I will highlight all of them, go to Format, and then go to Number. And right now it's just kind of like sensing what you want it to be. You can make it plain text or a number, but I want it to be currency, so I will choose that one. And then here you can adjust the number of decimal places. So you can decrease them here, add them in, depending on what you want it to look like, and if everything averages or not. Now I want to create a total based on these salaries here. So there's a few different ways that you can create totals or use your formulas. So the easiest way, or the simplest way, I should say, is to just type within this cell, type an equal sign, and automatically you're telling it you want it to create a sum of some kind of information. If you notice, it is kind of guessing that I want these 3 rows. So what I will do are these 3 cells. So I can go ahead and do that and click on that, and it will automatically total it for me. Or if I was creating it somewhere else where it maybe couldn't guess, I will, again, put that equal sign within the cell. And now if I click on a cell, it will grab the information about that cell, so where it lives. So basically column B, row 2. Then I'm going to add a plus sign. So I'm just going to create a little formula. So I add the plus sign, that's control, and then the plus sign, and then, the shift and plus sign. And then I will click on the next cell that I want to add. I will do that again, plus sign, add that cell, and then hit enter. And I get that same total here. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do that by just adding information into the cell. One other way I could do exactly the same thing, I'm just going to put that into the cell. Up here on the top right, you'll see these are all of your functions. So I can go ahead and click sum. And now that is telling me I'm going to create a sum within here. Now I have to add some values. So if I click on this 3,000 and then add the other 2, I'm going to hold down the shift button and then click the last one. That added all 3 of these. And if you see, it's now adding the sum between from column B, row 2 through column B, row 4. So it's grabbing all of those. I will hit enter, and there's my sum again there. So there are a few different ways to create those sums. That works for any basic addition and subtraction. Now I want to take this information and add it into my expense chart down below. So I can simply click on this cell and then hit the equal sign and say it should equal this cell here. And I hit enter again, and there it is, $12,000 right from that cell. And then I can copy this and paste it into the next cell and the next cell and the next cell. But before, we learned that you could actually drag the information across, and hopefully that will work. Look, if I just drag it across, all of that information should appear. But what's actually happening when I drag that information is it's grabbing the next cell, the cell next to it. So if I click within here, you'll see the formula says it should equal B5, which it does. The next one, it says it should equal C5, and it does equal C5. But this information actually doesn't exist. So I'm going to just delete this. And if you notice, as I delete it, it deletes down here as well. So if I drag this over and I check in the cell, it's saying this should equal C5 because I'm saying grab all of the cells within that coordinate with that. So I need to somehow anchor this so it's only grabbing this cell here. So the way we do that is we add $signs to our cell information. So within my cell here, I'll go to my formula, which is equals B5, and I'm going to add a $sign before the B, and that's basically saying anchor it into this column here. And if I add a $sign before the 5, it's now going to say anchor it within this row. So because I added both the $signs, it's going to anchor it right into this cell, and it's always going to grab this information. So I hit enter. Now, if you see here, here's my formula, equals $B, $5. I grab that little box, drag it across, and $12,000. Always, every one of these, if you notice, is B5, B5, B5. It's always grabbing the same information. So if I were to add a row here and add a new, I'm going to add a row. So I clicked on Wendy Wyckoff's row, right click, insert row below. And let's say Peter Piper joins, and he has a salary of $2,500. Automatically has the same formatting. It automatically added it to the formula, and it added up, and then it added all the way across within that row. So we can do the same thing for each department. And I will go over to my department 2, add some information. Again, let's say then I need to add my total. So the fastest way to do this is equals. It automatically kind of guesses what I want, so I will click on that. There's my sum. I want to format all of these, so I highlight all of them, and I did that by clicking, holding the mouse down, and then dragging down, so it highlights all of them. Click Format, Number, Currency. And then I need to take this information and put it into the cell here. So I'll click within the cell, click equals, and then click the cell I want it to equal. And again, I have to anchor it, so I will put a $sign before the B and a $sign before the 5, hit enter, click within that cell again, grab that little box, drag it across, and then it enters. Now that's assuming that all of this information is going to remain the same throughout the rest of the year, and I'm just using this as my information or my example. Yours may not be static, so you may have to go in and change that. Maybe you need to add some information to it, like it goes up a certain amount each year or each month. So, and I'll do the same thing again for department 3. Let's say Daisy makes a lot of money. Donald, maybe not so much. And Mickey, you know, he's just not been pulling his weight. So we'll put him down here. I'll add that sum. I'm just going to do it one other way just to remind you. I can click my function, add sum. It's going to grab some cells. I will grab all 3 of those cells, hit enter, reformat all of them. And then again, I'm going to add it down into this line here for my expense line. So I will hit equals the cell and then add the $sign to anchor it and hit enter. And then I will pull it all the way across. And if you notice, as I do this, I already have these formulas showing up. It starts automatically adding everything for me because I already had those formulas set up there. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to do, if you notice, I have a number of employees here. I want to count the number of employees that I have. So rather than just looking and seeing, okay, I have 4 here in this department, and I have 3 in this other department, and I have 3 more here, what I'm going to do is keep a running tab, a running number, and then I can use that later to create averages. So within this tab, I have a function that I can add called count. So I'm going to click function and then count, and then it's going to ask me, what do you want to count? So I want to count these 4 rows. So I clicked within the first one and I held it down and I dragged all the way to the bottom, and it's saying count the column B2 through column B5. So hit enter and I have 4, and that's exactly right. I have 4 employees here, and there's my formula up top. So I'm going to go to department 2 and do the same exact thing. I want to count the number of employees. So I click within the tab, within the cell where I want it to appear, go up to the functions, choose count, and now I need to add my values. So I will click within the first one, hold it down, drag down, release my mouse. There are the 3 that I'm counting, hit enter, and it counts my number of employees. Now, in that third one, rather than going through that whole process again, what I can do, because all of this is set up the same way, I can actually click within here and copy this formula. So I'm going to right-click and copy. You could also Control-C, go to my new tab, place it within there, and Control-V or paste it. So now, if I look here, it is counting B2, which is B2, through B4, column B, row 4. And that's right, I have 3 employees there. So I created the formula on a different sheet, but I just copied that formula and pasted it right in. So it's a nice, again, shortcut to make that happen. So everything's looking good. I think I have all the information I need on each one of these initial sheets. So now what I want to do is start adding everything up. So within my employees, I have my total number of employees. I have an average monthly salary of those employees, and then I have an average yearly salary. And then what I want to do is grab the information for each one of these expenses within January, February, and all the way through December, and add them up, and then give me a monthly total and a yearly total. So let's start with the employees. First, I have a total number of employees. So I need to add from Department 1, this number of employees that we just created, same thing in Department 2, and then in Department 3. So I need that same cell within each of these tabs, and I need to add them here. So I'm going to click within this tab, within this cell, and I'm going to add that equal sign, and that tells sheets that I want to create a sum. I'll go back to each sheet, and I'm going to click on the cell that I would like to add. So I'll go to the first one here, I'll click on that cell. It tells you it's on sheet 1, which is Department 1, and it is cell E2. I'll add my plus sign. I'll go to the next cell, the next sheet, click that next cell, again, sheet Department 2, cell E2, add my plus sign, go to the third one, same thing, and then I'm going to click or hit enter, and here it is. My total number of employees is 10, and that is correct. So if I click within that cell, you'll see here's my formula up here. It's grabbing from each sheet, and it's grabbing that particular cell. Now, if I want to add an average monthly salary, I need to do a couple of things here. First, I need to add up all of the salaries, all of the monthly salaries, and then I need to divide that by the number of employees that I have. So I need to add a little bit more to my formula. So within this row here, within this cell, I am going to create a sum. So I will put that equal sign in, and I need to add all of those pieces up and then divide it by my 10. So instead of just adding that equal sign, let's do this within my formula or within my function. So go to function, choose sum. So now it's going to take my sums and I'm going to put them within parentheses, and then I'm going to add a little bit more information afterwards. So let's first add my total salary, monthly salary from Department 1. I'll add that by adding that plus sign to Department 2. Add one more in Department 3. Now, here's my formula. Department 1, B6, Department 2, B5, and Department 3, B5. Those are my totals. Now I need to take all of that and I need to divide it by the number of employees. So I could put in the number 10, but if that ever changes, I would have to go in here and manually change it. So I'm going to just click this cell, and that's B2 on this sheet. Hit enter, and here's my average monthly salary. You can do the same thing for the average yearly salary. I'm going to wait and do that in just a second because we're going to have all of that information on here, so we'll do that a little differently. Now it's time to grab my expenses and add them down here. So my first cell is January advertising and marketing costs, and this is dependent on all of your expenses being the same through all departments. So I need to add up my January expenses here, and again on the second sheet, and then the third sheet. So I need that to appear on my last one. So I will start by creating that sum. Again, I started here. Go to the functions, hit sum. I'm going to add my values, just like I did for the monthly salaries. So I will hit that cell. I'll add the plus sign, and I'll go in here. If you notice, a little bit hard to see. So if I hit the wrong one and then hit the back arrow, it will actually go back to the cell that I wanted. So don't worry about not being able to see it. You can always maneuver this. I'm going to add that plus sign, go to my third sheet. I need that cell right there. And then hit enter. And there's my total for January advertising and marketing costs. Now, because I have all of the same expenses within all of these departments, this formula should apply to all of them. So if I grab this and drag it down, it's basically saying use this formula for this next row on each of these sheets, and so on and so forth. So if I go and I just add these up manually, I have $500 here, $500 there, I have another $500. So my grand total should be $1,500, and there it is. So, and if you look at your formula, that's exactly what it's doing. It's taking Department 1, that cell B10, adding it to Department 2, the cell is B9, and Department 3, and the cell is B9, is adding them and placing it right there. So that was a really nice, easy way of adding in all of these rather than having to do each one manually. So now I need to add them all up here to get my monthly total. And again, we could do that by adding the equal sign and grabbing that, which it's kind of assuming that's what you want. So a nice, quick, easy way of doing that. Now, it should also, because we have the same number of columns in all of these departments for each one of these spreadsheets, it should work to drag everything across. So I grab that button, or grab that little square, pull it across, and those are all my totals for every month for advertising and marketing costs. And that I know is grabbing from 3 different sheets. And if I want to check that, click within the cell and look above, and I can check that up here. That's my formula. Now for here, because this is all the same, I can grab all of these, highlight all of them. So what I did was clicked within that cell, hold my shift button, and then I'm going to click on the bottom one and pull that across. It's basically, now you're telling it, grab all of the information within the cell and apply it to each one of the, each consecutive cell. So again, I can check my formula here. It's Department 1, C10, Department 2, C9, Department 3, C9. So it's grabbing all of that information. Do the same thing for my totals. And then I have some grand totals here. So now what I need to do is take all of this information and add it up and have it appear here. I'll go to my sum. I need to grab the values. So I will click within the January cell, hold my shift key, click within December, and it pulled all of that information. If you see here, it's going to add up everything from column B, row 9, through column M, row 9. And that is exactly what that is, B9, M9. And I hit enter, and there's my total. And now if you notice, it's asking me, like, would you like to do this? And based on everything you've done so far, would you like to do this? It seems to be that's what you want. So I'm going to say yes, and now it automatically adds those totals. A really nice way, kind of intuitive way to get through all of this. So now I have, these are all of my salary and wages each month. And if you notice, it actually happens to add up to 39,000. We have 10 employees. The average of that is $3,900. This is my grand total for my yearly salaries. And I want to get my average yearly salary up here. So what I'm going to do here is I will hit equals. And what I want to do is grab this total here and divide it by the number of employees. So I will click within that cell, it grabs it here. I will add the division sign, and then I'm going to hit the number of employees. So I know it's tallying, and then hit enter, and there's my average yearly salary. So these are some really quick ways of adding information within one sheet or within multiple sheets. A nice way of grabbing the information. A lot of shortcuts. And remember that you can always check your formulas by seeing which sheet it is. And if you notice Department 1, that's the name of the sheet here. The cell, so I'm going to go to C9, and that's my row, my column with my row. So you can always check that formula up there by just kind of double checking your sheets. So just like Google Docs, you can share this information with others and work with them on it. And you can do that by going up to the share button in the top right-hand corner. And you're sharing the expenses worksheet, and you can choose who you want to share it with. Maybe I want to share this with Wendy Wyckoff. And I can make her an editor. I can add her as a viewer or a commenter. So I'm going to allow her to be an editor. And if I keep that notify people button checked, she will get notified with an email. You can create a message there that she receives. And then she can access this within her drive and make any kind of edits that she wants as well. You can create different versions of this by going to File, Download, and you can choose the different types of documents that you would like. If you wanted to save it as a PDF or an Excel file. And you can also email this to somebody. You can email it as a file. And when you do that, just know that it does create a copy of the file. It will not actually email this once. So it's going to create a copy. And you could also just make a copy of this. If you like the way this works and you want to create a new one for something else, you can make a copy here. You can also copy your tabs. So if you needed to add another department, I could just click this down arrow next to the department name or the tab name and go to duplicate. Now it's going to duplicate that and it gives it the name of copy of Department 3, but what I want to do is rename that. So I double clicked within there, get rid of copy of, and I'm going to change this to Department 4, hit enter, and now I've got all of the same formulas, and it's really nice, again, shortcut to get it going. Okay. Any questions about anything that we covered? I know this went a little bit longer than we had planned. Any questions?
Can you please explain how to share Google Sheets to emails that are not gmail.com?
Yes. So you can do the same exact thing here. I can add somebody who's not a Gmail. Just type in their email address, and then you're going to need to change the restrictions here. So the general access, I need to change that to anyone with the link.
Thank you, Joseph. Many thanks again to Joseph Palmer, our Web Development and Product Coordinator, for another excellent class. Our next class in this series is next Monday, the 27th at 10 o'clock. The subject is Google Forms. And again, I'd like to thank all of our directors, staffers, trustees, and friends of the library for attending today's session. And just a reminder, if you've signed in with just your first name or a non-descriptive screen name, please email me so I can make sure that you're counted for attendance purposes. Certificates for those who attend all 8 classes will be sent after the series is over. We'll be sending out a post-event email with the link to the recording, as well as a link to a great handout that Joseph has created. There will also be a link to an evaluation form for today's class, so please complete it. Everyone's feedback is very important as it helps us to plan future events.